When war broke out, I was in Kingston, Jamaica. That was a long, long time ago now. For the first 6 months of war, I was out in the Caribbean when along comes one of these German merchant ships. So we took up the chase to try and catch her, firing shots across her bows, but she wouldn't give up. She went on and on until we got to Miami, of all places. And once she'd passed that 3-mile limit, she was in the care of America. We couldn't go any further. We had to stay on that 3-mile line and just cruise up and down, waiting for her to come out. But no such luck. And in the end, she got interned. But during that time of being up and down, we had loads of people coming out in their boats and throwing newspapers in board, cigarettes, but no bottles. Anyway, to cut a long story short, one little piece I must tell you. One of these newspapers had thick black headlines. And what did it say? European war comes to Miami doorstep. I wish I'd have kept that paper. It was. Anyway, after this little incident, back to Kingston, Jamaica again, and then we unloaded what we call our walrus plane. Then they used to shoot this plane off from the ship, and by doing this, it was quite a it was dangerous, but the catapult for shooting this plane off was over our mess deck. Say for instance, this is our mess deck, and the catapult would be right overhead. And who was the pilot of the walrus plane? Captain of Marines. And he was as mad as a March hare. When the plane shut off, it just skimmed the water, and then up she went. And to get the plane back on board again after she'd been out for a while, they had to bring the plane alongside the ship, and we had a catapult there, a crane rather, and they used to lift this plane inboard and rest it again on the catapult until the next time. After a while, things started getting a bit warm. Not only the weather, but we went straight out to the Mediterranean, and from there on, we knew there was a war on. Once Italy came into the war to join the Germans, we had plenty of scares. For an instance, I was standing by the guardrail just outside my gun turret, and I was staring out into space, looking to see if there was any unusual fish that used to glide along the water. And all of a sudden this huge splash went up. I thought, what's that? I realised what it was. It was a bomb dropped from these high-level bombing planes of the Italians. In I went quickly inside the gun turret and then started to do the firing. And well, it was all different activities there in the Mediterranean, and well, until I suppose it's hard to explain really what it was like to explain to people, just what it was like being in the situations at times that we were in. Sometimes very scary. As a matter of fact, there was one case of where one of our ships, it was HMS Liverpool, and she got struck by Italian bombs, and it's a direct hits on the forward bow, what we would call the forward bow, and the gun turret there, you can imagine the gun turret being hit, how many sailors got killed, and so we just had to do the best we could. So what we had to do, we had to take this ship HMS Liverpool into tow, stern first, around where the propeller is, and then we had to tow her all the way back to Alexandria in Egypt, and we managed to get back safely after about a day and a half, and we were very, very lucky to do that. And if it had been the Germans, we would never have made it. But we did. And every time we went out from Alexandria, we think to ourselves, well, I hope we're coming back in again. But it just went on quite a while until eventually I got relieved from the ship that I was on, HMS Orion, and I was supposed to get home in about less than a week, and to pick up the ship in Malta. So one of our ships took us to Malta, and from there on, the next part of our trip home, as you might say, we were we were told that the bombing was getting too bad, because that's when all the bombing was going on in Malta by the Germans, and so they decided not to, our other ship to get us back to England, so we went back to Alexandria again. But in the end, cutting a long story short, we made our way home on a Dutch ship that came into Alexandria, and we went all the way around the Cape, going to Mombasa, Durban, Cape Town, and eventually right round the Cape and home to England. Anyway, that's just one small part of events in in the war. And from then on, after having a couple of months leave, I got the big ship, HMS Duke of York, and that's the one where we really, I can, what shall I say? It started getting so cold, and then I realised what we were doing. I didn't understand what was going on first of all, and then found out that it was what they called the Russian convoys, protecting the merchant ships from the German planes and the submarines up in the Arctic, in that lovely sea, the Barents Sea. It was jolly, jolly. and that's all for tonight.
That's us.
Well, remember.